Under the light of great scientific discoveries, the story of the Apollo 11 mission remains one of the most legendary events in history. However, behind these monumental achievements lie mysterious and unexplained stories that few know about. The astronauts of Apollo 11, on their monumental journey to the moon, not only conquered space, but also faced strange phenomena that remain inexplicable. Encounters with unidentified objects, photographs that were never released, and startling revelations from witnesses have raised many questions. Is the moon truly a lifeless celestial body, or does it hide secrets far beyond what we've imagined? Read on to uncover these mysterious tales, unbelievable events, and truths that could completely change the way we view the moon and the mysteries that lie beyond it. Nearly half a century has passed since the last humans set foot on the moon, yet questions still linger about the true reasons behind the abrupt halt in lunar exploration. Was it simply budgetary constraints that led to this dramatic decision, or was there something far darker at play? If we are to believe certain whistleblowers, the truth might be far more unsettling. There could be something or someone waiting on the moon. From 1969 to 1972, American astronauts completed 6 successful lunar landings. The final mission, Apollo 17, concluded on December 19, 1972, when astronauts Eugene Cernan, Harrison Schmitt, and Ronald Evans were safely recovered by the crew of the USS Ticonderoga. However, despite plans for 3 additional Apollo missions, no manned expeditions have taken place since. The official reason for this sudden shift was tied to the political and financial realities of the time. The height of the Cold War saw America claim victory in the space race, with President Richard Nixon enjoying the prestige of being the first nation to achieve a successful manned landing. But the costs of the Apollo program were staggering. Initially estimated at $7 billion, the figure eventually soared to over $20 billion. This immense financial burden proved unsustainable. The technology of the era allowed astronauts to spend only a few hours on the lunar surface each time, and with no immediate scientific breakthroughs or valuable resources to justify the expenditure, NASA struggled to secure funding for future missions. The moon landing had achieved its symbolic victory for the West, and as tensions with the Soviet Union eased, space exploration lost its urgency. The dream of a lunar colony faded into the realm of science fiction, especially as arms reduction treaties between the superpowers limited further progress in the space race. In the years that followed, several countries, including the USA, China, and India, sent probes and robotic landers to the moon. Yet, despite the numerous missions, we still know astonishingly little about Earth's closest celestial neighbor. Most of these robotic expeditions ended in failure, either crashing due to technical malfunctions or completing their intended purpose without providing much new insight. However, a handful of stories have emerged from astronauts and space officials. Stories that suggest the moon might not be the barren, lifeless rock we've been led to believe. Astronauts have reported seeing strange tracks near landing zones, mysterious objects floating in the lunar sky, and even distant glimpses of massive, alien-like structures on the horizon. These claims, sometimes supported by grainy photographs and edited audio recordings, point to something or someone already residing on the moon, possibly aware of any intrusions. For years, these whispers have remained just that, whispers. But as time goes on, the questions persist. If there are indeed inhabitants on the moon, what will they do when we return? And are we ready to face whatever secrets lie hidden on the lunar surface? In 2015, a mysterious article began circulating on Reddit, claiming to be the testimony of a British psychologist who had seen confidential reports about secret moon landings that occurred after Apollo 17. According to the article, these missions revealed disturbing and inexplicable events, and although much of this testimony remains unverified and could easily be debunked, certain aspects of the story have resonated with those who are familiar with the strange accounts surrounding NASA's official moon landings. The anonymous source claimed that during their mission, the Apollo 17 astronauts had ventured just a short distance from their landing site when they stumbled upon the wreckage of a Soviet spacecraft. But what shocked them the most wasn't the discovery of the debris itself, but the eerie condition of the spacecraft and its crew. The Russian lander had been brutally damaged, with punctures and tears all over the hull, and the cosmonauts aboard appeared to have suffered severe physical assaults. Their helmets were shattered in an identical manner, suggesting a violent encounter rather than a space disaster caused by decompression or impact. In a panic, the American astronauts returned to their lander and attempted to request permission to leave the moon's surface. However, they were told to remain on the ground for several more hours due to technical issues. During this time, they radioed increasingly frantic reports of shadowy figures moving around the hills in the distance, slowly drawing closer to their module. The article went on to claim that a joint British and Russian mission was launched in 1989 to investigate the crash site, and the psychologist was involved in debriefing the crew upon their return. According to this account, the Russian lander arrived near the Apollo 17 landing zone in December of 1990, but the crew was attacked by unknown entities, and contact with them was lost before the controllers at the Akatsuki launch site could react. This has led to speculation that the moon's surface may be littered with the wreckage of previous landings, hidden by the nations who secretly sent their expeditions there. There are allegations that Russia has covered up the extent of their lunar missions, with personnel records allegedly altered to conceal the deaths of cosmonauts involved in failed missions. Some amateur radio enthusiasts have claimed to have intercepted desperate transmissions from cosmonauts whose spacecraft malfunctioned while orbiting the moon. In May 1969, Apollo 10 crew members Gene Cernan and John Young reported hearing strange, eerie whistling sounds emanating from the lunar surface. At the time, the mission control was puzzled by the noises, and it wasn't until later that the phenomenon was attributed to feedback from VHF transmitters aboard the spacecraft. Similarly, after the Apollo 15 mission in July 1971, crew members David Scott and James Irwin reported discovering strange tracks near Mount Hadley while outside their lander. The tracks appeared to be perfectly linear and uniform, stretching from east to west. What made this even more perplexing was that Apollo 15 was the first mission to bring an experimental lunar rover to the moon. Could these tracks have been left by some unknown entity, or perhaps by another forgotten mission? The strange and unsettling tales of the moon's hidden secrets continue to fuel speculation. Could there be more buried on the moon than we have ever been told? The claims surrounding the Apollo 11 mission have long captivated the imagination of conspiracy theorists, particularly the reports of multiple sightings of unidentified spacecraft and structures on the moon. The first such encounter occurred just 3 days into the mission, when Commander Neil Armstrong requested clarification on the position of the third stage of the Saturn V rocket in relation to the lunar module. After a brief delay, Mission Control informed him that the jettisoned rocket housing should be located approximately 6,000 miles behind their spacecraft, still moving away from Earth towards the moon. However, Armstrong's next statement sparked confusion and unease among the mission controllers. He reported that his colleague, Buzz Aldrin, had noticed something traveling alongside their spacecraft on a parallel course. Armstrong described the object as metallic, cylindrical in shape, with what appeared to be a light source emanating from one end. Once the object was lost from sight, Armstrong once again asked NASA for clarification. The official explanation was that it might have been a loose piece of metal paneling, possibly blown free from the main booster. But this reasoning did little to calm the growing sense of mystery surrounding the encounter. Even more unsettling were the radio transmissions believed to have taken place between Armstrong and the Houston Control Center after his arrival on the moon. During a 2-minute gap in communication, where the standard channels reportedly failed, it is alleged that Armstrong continued transmitting on a secondary radio frequency used to monitor the astronauts' health and welfare. The content of these transmissions has never been fully revealed to the public, fueling speculation that something far stranger than a simple malfunction occurred during that moment. What did Armstrong experience during those 2 minutes of lost contact? And what did he encounter on the moon that could have led to such secrecy? These unanswered questions have only deepened the intrigue surrounding Apollo 11 and its crew's unexplained encounters on the lunar surface. Although the public never heard these transmissions, it is claimed that secret transcripts from the channel reveal Commander Neil Armstrong reporting sighting metallic objects at the edge of a nearby crater. He described seeing structures that seemed to lead underground and what appeared to be metallic vehicles parked in orderly lines outside these constructions. Armstrong allegedly captured numerous photographs with his chest-mounted camera, yet these images were never released. He was instructed to return to the lunar module before he could fully explore or document the site. When asked if he had deployed the scientific equipment he was assigned, Armstrong supposedly replied that he had done so but was concerned about being watched. He believed the occupants of the craft he had seen were observing him closely and would easily remove the instruments he had just set up. In the years following the Apollo 11 mission, some witnesses have come forward, claiming that Armstrong privately admitted to seeing these objects and structures. He is said to have confided in them, on the condition that they did not record the conversation. According to these accounts, Armstrong expressed deep fear and apprehension, believing that the beings he encountered were attempting to warn humanity away from further lunar exploration. The deaths of 2 prominent ufologists in October 2018 further fueled speculation. Although their passing appeared unrelated, both men had military backgrounds and were well known for their claims about NASA's alleged concealment of extraterrestrial life on the moon. Bob Dean, a former sergeant major in the U.S. Army, spent much of the 1960s stationed at military bases in Europe. He claimed that NASA had secretly destroyed up to 40 rolls of film taken during the Apollo 11 mission. Dean often joked that NASA's acronym stood for Never a Straight Answer, suggesting a pattern of dishonesty. He also claimed to have read a top-secret military dossier that evaluated the potential threat posed by extraterrestrial invaders. The document allegedly contained photographs of crashed alien spacecraft and autopsy reports of their pilots. Shortly after Dean's death, another significant event occurred. On October 11th, a tragic traffic accident took place in Lansing, New York. A 74-year-old cyclist, Carl Wolf, was fatally struck by a tractor. Wolf, a former U.S. Air Force sergeant, had previously come forward as a whistleblower, revealing disturbing evidence of alien presence on the moon. Wolf's untimely death only added to the growing mystery surrounding the lunar encounters and the unsettling claims of those who had worked within NASA and the military. In 1965, Carl Wolf was stationed at Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, where he served as an electronics technician. His primary duties involved the evaluation and repair of various photographic systems used by the Air Force during the Vietnam War. However, one day, Wolf was temporarily reassigned to NASA's Lunar Orbiter project. He described his visit to a nondescript hangar on the far side of the base, mostly occupied by civilian scientists and translators. There, Wolf met with an airman who explained that NASA was having issues with the developing equipment used to process photographs from the most recent lunar mission. Once they fixed the malfunction, Wolf was shown a series of images that depicted the lunar landscape. These photographs, however, were far from ordinary. According to Wolf, they displayed what appeared to be an alien city on the moon, complete with towers, domes, and mushroom-shaped buildings, all situated on the dark side of the moon. Wolf was stunned by what he saw and expected that such a groundbreaking discovery would be broadcast on the evening news. But as time passed, he realized that the government had no intention of revealing the existence of the alien city to the public. In 2001, along with 20 other former servicemen and intelligence officials, Wolf finally came forward with his story. Photographs sent back by lunar probes have indeed shown interesting anomalies, such as lights appearing in craters and what some claim to be unnatural structures, some miles high. These anomalies have led some to suggest that the moon may not even be a natural satellite in the traditional sense. Instead, some theorists propose that the moon is an external shell, concealing a more sinister object beneath, like a massive alien spacecraft or space station. This idea mirrors the hollow Earth theory, which posits that there is a vast network of tunnels and caverns beneath the Earth's surface, hidden from humanity's knowledge. Proponents of the hollow moon theory often cite the data collected by seismometers placed on the moon during the Apollo missions. Between 1972 and 1977, these instruments recorded various geological movements beneath the lunar surface, varying in scale and intensity. During the Apollo 12 mission, the crew deliberately crashed the ascent stage of their lunar module onto the moon's surface. The seismic readings showed that the moon reverberated for an hour, as if it had rung like a bell. For hollow moon theorists, this was interpreted as evidence of large, hidden spaces beneath the moon's surface, possibly constructed by extraterrestrials or other unknown entities. While NASA has provided various explanations for some of these phenomena, the public's imagination continues to be captured by the idea of a hidden lunar presence. Whether these accounts are simply the result of optical illusions, faulty equipment, or mental stress experienced by the astronauts, some still believe there may be more to these stories than we realize. As we sift through the events and tales from the Apollo program, it's clear that there are occurrences that defy conventional explanation. Perhaps in the future, we will uncover more about the true nature of the moon and whether there are celestial neighbors out there, silently observing us from afar. If they exist, we can only hope they are as curious about us as we are about them, and that they don't mind sharing this small corner of the galaxy with humanity. As we conclude this journey through the strange and unsettling tales surrounding the moon, we are left with more questions than answers. The mysteries of the Apollo missions and the unexplained phenomena observed by the astronauts continue to fuel speculation and intrigue. Whether these stories are the result of misinterpreted events, psychological stress, or something far more extraordinary, the fact remains that they captivate our imagination. The moon, once thought of as a distant, barren rock, may hold secrets that are yet to be revealed. As technology advances and we continue our exploration of space, perhaps one day we will uncover the truth behind these stories, and in doing so, expand our understanding of both the universe and our place within it. Until then, the mysteries of the moon remain a tantalizing enigma, waiting to be solved.